Pattaya, Thailand. For thousands of foreigners, it's the ultimate dream, right? A new life in paradise, funded by what looks like a booming local business. But for so many, that dream just completely falls apart, turning into a total financial nightmare. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and uncover the hidden traps that catch so many investors and turn their little piece of paradise into a prison.
So that's the big question, isn't it? Why do so many people fail when they get to paradise? On the surface, it seems pretty simple, but the answer is way more complicated than you might think. We're going to unpack exactly what goes wrong and why those vibrant, busy streets can be so deceiving.
And this quote, this is really where it all begins. You walk down the street, you see bars packed to the rafters, restaurants buzzing with energy, and you can't help but think, man, how hard could this be? That powerful illusion, that's the first step into the trap. Okay, let's talk about that dream for a second. It's this intoxicating mix of a tropical lifestyle, a really low cost of living, and what just seems like a golden, can't-miss business opportunity. I mean, think about it. Every single year, people are cashing in their entire life savings. We're talking anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 to buy a piece of this dream. But the heartbreaking reality is that a huge number of them will walk away having lost every last cent.
So how does this happen? Well, it all starts with what I like to call the perfect illusion. It's this massive gap between what you see when you're on vacation and what you actually experience when you're an owner. This is the first thing you have to get your head around. They are two completely different worlds. The tourist, they see a nonstop party. The owner, they see a relentless day-in, day-out financial balancing act. They're not even close to the same thing.
And what's so fascinating here is how this slide just breaks that illusion down. See, as a tourist, you're looking at revenue, all the money coming into the till. But as an owner, you live and die by profit, what's left after a mountain of costs. That constant flow of people you see, that just means the competition is absolutely fierce. And trust me, for every packed bar you notice, there are probably 3 or 4 others just down the street struggling to even break even. So what do people think is the problem? When a business goes under, there are always a couple of obvious culprits that everyone immediately points to.
And the usual suspects are, of course, the competition. I mean, thousands of businesses fighting for the same customers. And then there's the whole boom and bust cycle of tourism. High season, low season. And look, those are real challenges for sure, but they are not the fatal blow. And this right here is the crucial point. Focusing on competition and the tourist seasons, it's kind of like worrying about the weather forecast when your ship is already taking on water. The real problems, the ones that sink you, are hidden deep beneath the surface. All right, so let's go below the surface and look at these unseen traps. This is where the dream really begins to crumble, and it starts with the one thing that new investors almost always underestimate: the costs. All of a sudden, you're not just running a fun little bar. You're managing commercial rent in a prime tourist spot, a full staff payroll, constant inventory costs for all your booze and food, utilities, and a whole maze of licensing and compliance fees. These things add up incredibly fast.
I mean, just look at that number, $7,000 or maybe even more every single month. That is the kind of financial pressure you are under before you've made a single dollar in actual profit. So many new owners are just bleeding cash from day one, and they don't even realize it until it's way too late.
And as shocking as those costs are, believe it or not, they aren't the #1 killer of businesses in Pattaya. The single biggest mistake, the one that can make you lose everything, literally overnight, has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with the law. Okay, so you really have to wrap your head around this next part. For a lot of industries in Thailand, a foreigner cannot legally own 100% of their business. So what they have to do is enter into this partnership structure where a Thai national actually holds the majority of the shares. And you can see how this plays out. It's a disaster waiting to happen. People pour their life savings in, based on a handshake, right? A verbal agreement. It's only later, when there's a problem, that they finally look at the actual paperwork and get the shock of their lives. The business they paid for? It isn't legally theirs. They have zero control.
So after hearing about all of these traps and hurdles, you're probably asking, how does anyone actually succeed? Well, it's not about luck. There is a very clear and distinct difference between the people who make it and the ones who don't.
Here it is. This is the fundamental error.
They fall in love with the vacation lifestyle, the beaches, the nightlife, that super relaxed atmosphere, and they just assume that running a business here is going to be just as easygoing.
And that's the big aha moment. The winners, they peel back that vacation facade and they see Pattaya for what it really is, a hyper-competitive, legally complex, and financially demanding business environment. And they treat it with the seriousness it absolutely deserves.
This quote just says it all. The people who succeed aren't luckier. They are just dramatically more prepared. They do all the hard work before they ever invest a single dollar. So what does that preparation actually look like? Well, successful owners do their homework. They become experts on local laws. They plan for the seasonal highs and lows instead of being surprised by them. They manage their finances with military precision. And, this is key, they build trustworthy local partnerships based on solid legal agreements, not just handshakes. They leave absolutely nothing to chance.
So we've uncovered the investment traps, but understanding the general business environment, that's really only one part of the story, because the real engine of Pattaya's nightlife has its own unique set of economic rules. And what we found might just surprise you. We're going to dive deep into that in our next explainer.